Mr. Chhatwal, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Shall we start with a the biggest smile ever? 400 crores of net profit for the quarter gone by. क्या बजट की बात करें प्रॉफिट इतना अच्छा है
it's a budget chat, not an earnings chat, but yeah, more tempting to talk about
I want to start with
sure.
400 crores. Smile more, sir. 400 crores, little bit of smile more.
No, nice of you, Nikunj. We are very pleased, very proud. And, till 2 years ago was very difficult, what we talked about.
So now can I say that the hotel industry does not want anything from the budget? Because profits are bumper, so there is no official wish list for the hotel industry from the minister today.
I thought, Nikunj, ET now, and you were the well-wisher of the sector, having some kind of a soft corner, because I think it is very important that the budget is an enabler. The budget is always an enabler. Growth is an enabler. The GDP growth is the biggest enabler for the results in hospitality sector. The spend in infrastructure is critical for the success of the tourism industry. And finally, the positioning of tourism, I think, is a very important opportunity. It has been missed several times. I hope that it gets addressed this year or as early as possible. So I think giving tourism sector the infrastructure status is long overdue, and getting a state-level industry status is also equally important. That will generate a lot of employment, a lot of indirect jobs, as has been proven globally.
You don't need a soft spot from us, right? The kind of pent-up demand, or actually what started off with revenge travel, pent-up demand, has really taken off on a different, orbit altogether, and all are best wishes with them already.
Yes, and my limited point is that the industry needed a lot of support. While
They don't need any.
They don't need now.
They
The
don't
pent-up
need
demand
any.
is so strong. Of course, infrastructure support is welcome. Shefali is also there with us, and now we'll talk taxes. Good morning. Time to take taxes. The most serious stuff of any budget, taxes.
No more, right? I mean, we don't hear much about taxes in the budget anymore.
But on the LTCG front and STG front, there are two types of taxes. One is good to have tax, which is that you want to make the Indian tax system, which is complex, easy. So it's a good to have hygiene tax that you simplify all asset classes under one bracket. But there is need to have tax. Looking at the fiscal stability, the facts that tax collections have been strong, is there need to tinker the capital gains tax at all?
Well, there has been the ask, and again, not that it's going to make so much of difference, but it's more a question of investor sentiment. So, by giving in a little bit and simplifying and rationalizing, if it keeps a large class of stakeholders happy, why not? So, possibly rationalization is something which has been on the cards for some time, if they choose to do it. But other than that, I don't think there is going to be too much on the tax-related changes, because most of the work that we have ahead is more on, administrative reforms and simplification and things like that.
This is the most relaxed I've seen you ahead of a budget speech. Because, nothing is expected from budget and the tax from this time. Is it right?
But we will have something, because, the G20 presidency will have, a lot of say. And I think, because, a lot of people are watching, there will be a lot of announcements, especially related to international tax. We are going to be adopting some of the OECD proposed changes on the Pillar 1, Pillar 2 for the large multinationals. So there may be some announcements related to that.
Okay.
Shefali, is there a possibility that the tax net could get widened? The income tax slabs, they could perhaps go a little down the run.
Yeah, so that's possible. The slabs can, actually there has been an ask, to increase the basic exemption limit. That might happen. But in order to widen the net, they've already been, introducing the TDS provisions. And that has put a lot of people in the train. That trend, to my mind, is going to continue, unfortunately, because I think that's an easy way to put a trail on the money. And that then, puts the onus on the people to comply. So that's already been happening over the last 2 years. we have more and more TDS provisions coming in.
Okay, Shashank is ready, Mr. Tyagi is also ready,
And Mr. Rajneesh Kumar
and
is
Mr.
also
Kumar
ready.
is also ready. Mr. Kumar, Shashank, Mr. Tyagi, good morning, gentlemen. So nice to have all three of you. And I can make out, Shashank, that it's really, really cold in Gurgaon.
Yeah, it's in Delhi. Yeah, it's cold. I'm in Delhi.
Tyagi
Mr.
sahab?
Tyagi is in Gurgaon.
Yes, Ms.
DLF.
Okay, Shashank. Now, there's a huge departure, Shashank, in terms of the budget policy making. The growth seems to be the center of the budget making exercise. There are no large tax changes. There is focus on multiplier effect which is getting created by spending on infrastructure. What, to your mind, Shashank, should be the priority of this year's budget? 2021, Shashank, it was survival. 2021, it was about revival. Do you think flourish should be the theme of this year's budget?
Yeah, I think somewhere between a revival and a flourish, because as you rightly pointed out, capex increases. With that multiplier effect, helps both on the supply side as well on the demand side. And especially if you have investments in infrastructure, roads, port, and I'm talking from an auto perspective, it's always good. It brings down the logistics cost and also provides the much impetus to growth, especially the medium and the long-term growth. And remember, the auto industry fortunes are very closely related to the overall growth in the economy. In fact, a very high correlation exists between the per capita income growth and the auto industry growth. The correlation being as high as 0.98. So that's so as far as auto industry is concerned, the budget should focus on growth. Infrastructure spending and rural spending can actually take the bigger share, which helps us also because the rural demand for cars have been increasing. In fact, for Maruti Suzuki, almost 44% of our sales are in the rural areas. So in that sense, I would expect the budget should be somewhere between a revival and a flourish.
I have two sheets.
Before that,
Yeah.
I must tell him that, all of our stock pickers today on the show have given one stock. And Maruti clearly is one of their top ideas. They say that if the government is planning to put more hands, or rather more money in the hands of people, Maruti is the stock to bet on.
Absolutely. Car buying is related to how much disposable income you have, and any softening in terms of inflation or having a larger income levels which comes out by putting money in the hands of the people obviously is a very positive for the auto industry.
Absolutely it is, and I can see you have a swanky, bright yellow car in front of which you're sitting. But Mr. Tyagi, I'm going to come to home buying also in just a short while from now. But let me just welcome on board Mr. Rajneesh Kumar as well on the show. Mr. Kumar, themes, the three C's that the budget this time around is intending to focus on: consolidation, capex, capital gains. And out of that, consolidation and capex are two very big things that even market watchers are looking out for. You can't do that alone, right? You have to have banks aid all that growth. What is your anticipation and expectation on what the finance minister is likely to do, which is going to be sensitive to the banking sector?
I think we've lost him there.
Guys, we're not getting his audio.
Okay. I think there is bit of an audio problem there. We'll try and sort it out.
Yeah.
So what we have, Aisha, we've got Punit, who represents the hospitality sector, stroke tourism sector, big employment generation. Auto, one of the biggest sectors in India in terms of where the manufacturing capability is
real
moving.
estate.
Real estate and banking. So this, in a sense, really represents the India. IT sector never gets anything from the budget. So that's the reason why we don't have any representation from the IT sector. And tax, Shivali is saying, yes, you're making my life easy this time. Nothing big is expected. No talk of a surcharge, no talk of a COVID surcharge. Nothing on that front. So you got your task very easy this time around, right?
Fingers crossed.
Mr.
I think we
Tyagi,
can try going back to Mr. Rajneesh
okay.
Kumar again.
Mr. Kumar, my question to you is very simple, which is that if India has to move from 3 trillion to 5 trillion, the nature of the Indian economy is such that it needs capital. What can be done in this budget to ensure that we have abundance of capital and the banking system, in a sense, is adequately funded? You know, just when the growth came back, the problem has started again. Deposits are not growing, credit is growing. So every time growth will come back, you will need more capital. What can be done in this budget to address that?
As far as the banks are concerned, if we are talking about their capitalization, I am not expecting that in this budget there will be any capital infusion as far as the public sector banks are concerned. But the fact is that, yes, the credit demand this year has been the highest in last several years. So the risk capital which was needed for the banks, it was provided by the government couple of years ago. And as a result of the cleanup which has happened in the banking system, today the banks are profitable, and if they have to fund the demands of the economy and a higher credit growth, the money will have to be raised from the market.
Mr. Tyagi, I have got 2 sheets in front of me. One is the real estate demand of 2021. It has got 10 points. One is the real estate demand for 2023. It has only 1 point. Is it true that the real estate sector has got everything they wanted in the last 2 or 3 budgets? There is perhaps no large wish list?
Okay, so I think it will be over-optimistic to say that we have got everything that the real estate sector wanted from the budgets. But the fact is that, I guess courtesy a lot of factors, the last 2 years have been exceptionally good in terms of the residential demand, and even the commercial demand is now gradually bouncing back. So they're absolutely. From a budget standpoint, clearly, one should never stop wishing for more. And, one of the oldest demands of the sector, I think, at least 10 years now, is some form of inflation indexing on the interest rate exemption. Because that really would be a significant kicker, especially in the small to medium range housing, in that sense. I presume that the counter argument is that it's already doing very well, but obviously if that 2 lakh limit goes up to at least to some degree, even if not to 5 lakhs, 3.5 lakhs, 4 lakhs, some sizable increase, that will be a significant, I guess, sentiment kicker for sure. The second point on the commercial sector, which I think has been pending from the last budget, is the detailed promulgation of the entire SEZ conversion to DESH guidelines. And that's something which I think that at least the commercial realty sector has been waiting for a long time. And I guess, hopefully this budget should address that. So I think those are the 2 real points that I do believe that we are hoping that this budget will go some distance in addressing.
Okay.
Shashank, a lot of anticipation and expectation that the budget is going to give a thrust perhaps to EVs. With Maruti's foray also now into this, I wanted to understand what exactly is the ask of the industry, and at this juncture when EV, I would say, is still at a very nascent stage here in India, what is the feasibility of it all?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question, because, when we look at EVs, still it's expected that this financial year, 22-23, the industry will see about 50,000 numbers being done on the EV front. I'm talking of passenger vehicles. That's just about 1%. The adoption of EVs obviously being hampered by the cost of acquisition, the high cost of acquisition which comes from high battery cost. And second is the range anxiety which comes from the lack of charging infrastructure. So I think if the adoption of EVs have to be faster, then obviously there have to be provisions which help in building up of charging infrastructure, and also if localization of batteries, of some support in that would also help. There is a PLI, of course, but any provision which helps the localization, especially of batteries and other powertrain, EV powertrain costs, would help in the early adoption. But meanwhile, and that is also Maruti Suzuki's point of view, we need to explore other technologies to bring down emission, and Maruti Suzuki has been doing it. In fact, the industry has been doing it. We have CNG, which is low on emission, great on fuel efficiency. We are talking about biogas as well, and strong hybrids. So one of the ways in which the transition to EVs can obviously come through those extra incentives for EVs, but also by way of some support for the less fuel consuming technologies which are intermediate, and like the strong hybrids, the CNG, which could also help on the emission front, as also in the later quicker adoption of EVs.
Kumar, I go back to that very basic point about India's capital requirement. Now, savings rate in India, Mr. Kumar, is coming down. Do you think in this budget there should be some consideration on the minimum cap which is there on fixed deposits? Right now, anything above 40,000 rupees in fixed deposit actually attracts a slab rate. Do you think that should be revisited? And my logic here, Mr. Kumar, is simple, that from a low interest rate and a low inflation regime in last 5 years, we are moving to a different regime globally. Next 5 years, interest rates will remain high and inflation will remain higher than what the last year 5-year average is. So these numbers, which in a sense were there in 2018, they need to be adjusted at least as per inflation.
Yeah, so interest rates on the fixed deposits, there has been a upward movement aligned to the inflation. Now, about the tax benefit on the interest earned on the fixed deposits, which is, you have mentioned, the current limit is 40,000 and 10,000 rupees for the savings bank interest. So total comes to 50,000 rupees. So if the idea is that there should be fewer exemptions, we have to see that the idea which was initiated last year, it has not taken off. So my expectation would be that there should be some further simplification of the exemption-less tax regime. In such a scenario, I doubt whether this limit is going to be raised.
Mr. Chhatwal, really closing comments from you before the budget speech is tabled. What, to your mind, will be a good budget, okay budget, and a great budget? I'm not using the word bad or poor. Good, great, okay.
I think a great budget would be that takes care of the population, that takes care of all the stakeholders, that takes care of key industries, that stimulates growth, stimulates employment, and both direct, indirect, and positions India from the 5th largest economy and makes the platform for it to leapfrog to number 3 in the near future.
Mr. Tyagi, what will make for a good, bad, and a poor budget? I'm putting the poor word in.
Okay. So honestly, I mean, given the overall economy, and even the economic survey yesterday, I think honestly a poor budget looks completely out of context today, unless somebody does a really bad job, which looks very, very unimaginable. I think clearly, to reflect what was said, a budget which focuses on growth, on capex, and on putting more disposable cash in the hands of the middle class. I think those are the 3 basic drivers of what I'll say will be a good to solidly growth budget.
From home, you've not gone back to the office still?
Who, me?
Yeah, isn't that your house?
No. We've been operating in the office for the last 12 months, but
Okay.
I typically go to office around 10:30. So your this session was slightly before that. I'll immediately
Okay.
post this, go to office.
Okay, in a Maruti car maybe.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chhatwal, how's our office? And where should we call you after the budget speech?
Sure. Thank you. Looking forward.
Okay. Shashank, Mr. Tyagi, Mr. Chhatwal, Mr. Kumar, gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining us. That's our think tank panel. It does not get bigger than this when you've got India's one of the biggest banker, auto, infrastructure
estate.
and real estate. So we will be decoding the budget speech completely for you, but now the countdown has almost started. In less than 30 minutes from now, Nirmala Sitaraman will be rising on the floor of the parliament and she will present a fifth budget, a budget which in a sense can really set the tone for Indian economy to take the leap forward.